To understand the weight of the words and actions surrounding the recent Samood Flotilla incident, one must first understand the man at the center of it all, Benjamin Netanyahu. He has dominated Israeli politics for decades, serving multiple terms as prime minister, becoming the longest-serving leader in the nation's history. His political career is built on national security, a platform resonating with a large part of the electorate. His worldview was shaped by service as an elite commando and the loss of his brother during the Entebbe raid. This personal history frames his declarations and policy decisions. His leadership, assertive, strategic, and deeply ideological, Mr. Security. Admired by supporters, criticized by opponents as polarizing. On the world stage, his words carry immediate weight. The incident unfolded under the bright Mediterranean sun. Just 2 days ago, a small convoy of 3 ships calling themselves the Samood Flotilla, Samood means steadfastness in Arabic, was sailing in international waters toward Gaza. Their stated destination, the Gaza Strip, under a tight blockade by Israel and Egypt for nearly 2 decades. Passengers included journalists, parliamentarians, and human rights activists carrying medical and educational supplies. The confrontation occurred about 80 nautical miles from Gaza. The Israeli Navy tracked the flotilla from Cyprus, issuing warnings. Israel said the maritime blockade is legal and necessary to stop weapons reaching Hamas and other militants. They offered inspection at Ashdod and land transfer of approved cargo to Gaza. Organizers refused, insisting on sailing directly as a symbolic act. As the ships pressed on, tensions escalated. Israeli naval commandos intercepted and boarded. Israel said they met violent resistance on the lead ship, Amal, Hope. Within hours, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stepped before cameras in Jerusalem, flanked by his defense minister. His message targeted multiple audiences at once. He unequivocally praised the commandos' professionalism and courage, framing the operation as a necessary defense of a legal blockade. He vowed Israel would not allow a terrorist port in Gaza. He called the flotilla a political provocation, not a humanitarian mission. Holding up photos of confiscated items, slingshots, metal pipes, knives, he argued force used by soldiers was justified. The narrative sought to preempt claims of peaceful victimhood. He tied the flotilla to a broader campaign to delegitimize Israel, asserting Israel acts like any democracy to protect its people. A gag order limited operational details. Foreign journalists were processed for deportation, while a rapid social campaign amplified IDF footage and key soundbites to define events on Israel's terms before global outcry coalesced. The international response was swift. The UN called for a full, transparent investigation and restraint. The Human Rights Council condemned disproportionate force and urged lifting a blockade described as collective punishment. Turkey issued the strongest rebuke. Erdogan called it state terrorism, recalling its ambassador, a sharp diplomatic slap. Europe voiced disapproval. France called it deeply regrettable. Germany urged de-escalation and a thorough inquiry. The US balanced support for Israel's self-defense with concern over injuries and a call for fair, transparent resolution. Amnesty and Human Rights Watch accused Israel of violating international law and using unjustified force. Condemnation from governments, global bodies, and NGOs created a unified wave of pressure, placing Israel's actions under an intense global microscope. At home, opinion largely rallied behind the Prime Minister and the IDF. Channels replayed images of soldiers under attack, fueling pride in a successful operation, and frustration at perceived hypocrisy. But dissenters called the interception reckless and isolating. They argued the blockade drives a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Internationally, media led with activist accounts and images of commandeered ships. Protests erupted across Europe, North America, and the Middle East, focusing on ending the Gaza blockade. Online, your Samood Flotilla trended with solidarity posts and condemnation. In a Tel Aviv cafe, some called it a provocation by terror sympathizers. Relieved soldiers came home safe. On campuses abroad, students organized, painting banners, Free Gaza, End the Siege. The same event, radically different lenses, each side convinced of its righteousness. The Samood Flotilla did not occur in a vacuum. In 2010, the Mavi Marmara raid turned deadly and reshaped diplomacy. 10 activists were killed. Dozens and several Israeli soldiers wounded. Ties with Turkey collapsed. Years of U.S. brokered repair followed, including apology and compensation. Subsequent flotillas were intercepted with fewer clashes. The military emphasized de-escalation and controlled boarding. Stories flared briefly, then faded. Organizers knew reaching Gaza was unlikely. Attention was the aim. Israel moved to uphold the blockade while avoiding fatalities. In 2025, there were injuries, no deaths. A calibrated use of force, yet international condemnation surged nonetheless. History's shadow lingered over Samood. Different tactics, same global storm. As of today, October 4th, 2025, the fallout intensifies. Expect sustained battles in international forums. Israel will defend its actions. Coalitions will push to condemn. NGOs will demand independent investigation. Detained activists' fates will be leverage points for capitals. Friction with Turkey and parts of Europe will strain ties, with knock-on impacts beyond diplomacy. The blockade debate resurfaces. Security necessity versus claims of collective punishment and failed strategy. For Netanyahu, it is both challenge and domestic victory. Strength to his base, but deeper diplomatic isolation abroad. Short-term gains versus long-term costs remains the key question. Competing narratives, irreconcilable rights, deep beliefs, and little change in strategic reality, only new bitterness.